What's going on, guys? Metal Music Junkie here, aka John Browning, and today I am be doing my first ranking video for bands. I mean, I did an Ozfest ranking a while back, but I'm not counting that. So I'll be ranking all the Slipknot albums from worst to best. Slipknot, definitely my top 5 favorite bands of all time. Um, and I got almost every Slipknot album except for one, and we will get to it when we get there. So without further ado, let's get started with the ranking. All right, coming in at the bottom at number 7 is gonna be Point Five: The Great Chapter, released in 2014. It's not a bad album. I mean, to be honest, I don't think they've released anything that was like offensively bad, but The Great Chapter is probably the album I don't really listen to much. There are some great songs on there like The Devil and I, Negative One, Custer, Kill Pop. That's kind of about it. I don't really return to that album very much. So yeah, that's where I'll put it in the that's where it goes for me. So coming at the bottom, Point Five: The Great Chapter. All right, now coming in at number 6 is their latest album, The End So Far, released in 2022. Now, I was really into this album when it came out. Like, I fucking love this album. I remember thinking that this is better than We Are Not Your Kind, which I don't think that anymore. And but I still think this is a good album. I mean, it opens with Adderall, which I did used to like, but then they released that horrible Adderall EP. And that kind of ruined the song for me, because, yeah. Also, yeah, the Dying song, Time to Sing. That's one of the singles on there. Really good. Chapeltown Rag. I remember when the song first dropped, I was so into it. Yen is a song that I wasn't into with my first listen, but it's a song that eventually grew on me. Hive Mind is another highlight on here. Warranty kind of gives off Iowa vibes. And H377 is also a really good one. But then you got some songs I feel are not bad, just forgettable, like Medicine for the Dead, Heirloom, Aesthetic, Decide, and Finale. But overall, I think this is still a good album. I don't really get why it got the hate that it deserved. So, coming in at number 6 for the ranking, The End So Far. Alright, coming in at number 5 for the ranking is All Hope Is Gone, released in 2008. Kind of the same thing with And So Far. A bunch of really good songs and then some forgettable ones. I used to like this album a lot more when I was first getting into Slipknot, but re-listening to it now for the ranking, I don't like it as much as I did. But this is still a good album. I mean, you got Gematria, The Killing Name, which is probably one of the heaviest songs they ever made, in my opinion. Sulfur and Psychosocial. Psychosocial being my all-time favorite Slipknot song. I know, I'm basic. Shut up. Sulfur is also really good. Dead Memories is another good single. I always really like the song Gehenna. I know most people don't really like that song, but I think it's a great song on this album. In the title track, All Hope Is Gone is just relenting. Again, kind of one of their more... It's got probably some of their heaviest riffs. Not gonna lie. But then you got other songs that I just can't really get into, like Vendetta, Butcher's Hook, This Cold Black, Wherein Lies Continue. And the song Snuff, I mean, it's a fine song, and I like Corey's vocal performance on it, but I feel like this would have fit better on like a Stone Sour album than a Slipknot album. That's just me, though. So, coming in at number 5, All Hope Is Gone. Alright, coming in at number 4 for the ranking, We Are Not Your Kind, released in 2019. This was kind of around the time I started getting into Slipknot. Was around this time when this album came out. Obviously, I didn't start with this album, but it was new at the time when I was getting into him. This album has really grown on me in recent years. I used to kind of put it more towards the bottom, but out of their modern work, this is probably their best one. I mean, you got Unsainted, Birth of the Cruel, both great songs. Neo Forte, which is kind of a fan favorite. Critical Darling. Soulway Firth is probably my favorite song on there. It closes the album on a high note. Red Flag also gives off like old school vibes. I really like the song Spiders. I really liked how different that song is. And Orphan is also a really good one. So, coming in at number 4, We Are Not Your Kind. Alright, now we're in the top 3. So, coming in at number 3 is, I would definitely consider it one of the band's classics. So, coming in at number 3 is Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses. This was kind of when they started changing their sound a little bit to something more melodic, and I think it worked for them. I actually heard some people say that they do not like this album, which I respect their opinion, but I just don't get it. Sorry about that. Yeah, a lot of really good songs on here, like Duality and Before I Forget, which are probably some of the band's most famous songs. The Blister Exists, which is probably my favorite on here. 3-0 and The Nameless, those are probably some of the band's most underrated songs, especially 3-0. Opium of the People, Vermilion Part 1 and 2, I always really dug. And Pulse of the Maggots is another really good one. And the last couple songs, The Virus of Life and Danger Keep Away, these are kind of a bit more experimental type songs, which I always kind of dug those songs. So coming in at number 3, Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses. Alright, so coming in at number 2, I know some people would put this at number 1. The self-titled album, the debut. And no, I did not include Mate Feet Kill Repeat, because that's more of a demo. I mean, this was probably the first Slipknot album I heard, actually. And it really, blew my mind, because I had never heard anything that heavy before. Obviously, I'm into way more heavier music now, but when I was, 14, this was as heavy as it gets. I mean, you got a lot of classics on here. Sick, Eyeless, Surf Sane. Those are some of my favorites on there. Wait and Bleed, which is another one of the band's most famous songs. Spit It Out. It's also always a must-hear when seeing them live. Liberate and Prosthetics. No Life, Deluded. Only One, Scissors. Purity. Me Inside, Tattered and Torn. I would say this is definitely a perfect album. So coming in at number 2, the self-titled album debut. Alright, coming in at number 1, this is probably the one album that's a lot of people say is the best, and I totally agree. And at number 1 is Iowa. So, what do you do when you have one awesome debut? You do it all over again, but better. I mean, this is probably their heaviest album to date. I mean, it's also their heaviest. It's with this album, it's their most heaviest, but at the same time, it's one of their more accessible albums at the same time. because there's hooks all over this album, hooks for days, like especially in Left Behind and Mind Plague. Those are just like catchy, but also really heavy songs. I mean, you have People Equal Shit, Disaster Piece, Everything Ends, the Heretic Anthem. Skin Ticket was always one of my favorite songs on this, one of the more underrated songs on this album. I always really loved that song. The Shape, Gently, I Am Hated, New Abortion, Melobolic, and the title track Iowa, which is kind of the one I always skip because I can't really like sit through the song, but I do like it for what it is. So coming in at number 1, Iowa. Alright, that is it for this ranking. Tomorrow I am going to be doing my top 10 Slipknot songs, so stay tuned for that. So, please like, comment, subscribe, treat others the way you want to be treated, don't gatekeep, and rock on.